Hey y'all, Mackie here with Timberline Inspections. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some cracks that you may or may not see, especially in brick veneer. Bottom line is, eventually every house will have cracks when they have masonry work or concrete. So we're just going to take a look at a couple pictures here today and see kind of identify what we're looking at first, and then kind of go over some steps on how to fix this. So if you look at this first picture here, if you look up in the top left corner of that window there, you'll see that there's a small crack there. So we'll go down here, we'll look at a little bit different picture. You can see this is kind of a close-up shot of that, and you can see where that's cracking, and you've got that little Z-shaped crack going up there. And you can see that it connects right to that lintel. If you look at that lintel being the metal bar there that actually supports the brick veneer over the opening. Okay, so if we look, now we'll look at this next picture here. This next picture shows that crack up there, but if you also look down the bottom right corner, you can see another crack down there as well. So if it was just that top crack there, we would be fairly certain that that lintel was going bad. Basically what happens with those lintels is they end up, they rust, and the thermal expansion on the metal, caused by the fluctuation in temperature, causes that crack there and pushes that out. And the way to fix that basically is to get a mason out there to repoint that that mortar in between the bricks, and then also to replace that lintel. Now, if we look here and we see that other crack down there at the bottom, that gives us kind of another clue as to what's going on. Now, it could be kind of the same sort of thing, pushing it both out and actually putting some stress there at the bottom. But because I took these pictures, and so I know on the other side of the house, adjacent to this, on the next corner over, there was very similar cracking going on. And so what that actually tells me is that it's a settlement crack, because basically what's happening is the corner of that house is settling down while the rest of the house is not, and so that caused that slight bit of cracking there. And that's why you can see that the cracking is a little bit more severe up at the top left corner than it is at the bottom right corner, because that's where the majority of the separation is. Which would also be true had it been the lintels pushing it out, because it would cause obviously more stress there with the lintels directly touching it. But let's zoom in here. We can see this lintel is actually not in that bad a condition. You see a little bit of rust there, but it's really not that bad. They can get significantly worse over time. So what we can do with that lintel is, still need to basically fix this crack. So we need to have it repointed by a mason, or get a mason out there looking at it, and he'll tell you the best remediation effect, but typically they're going to tell you to repoint it. That lintel's probably not going to need to be replaced, although if the house is 20 years old, 25 years old, and that mason may tell you, hey, I can pull that out and replace it, and only cost you, $10 more. At that point in time, it'd be worth it. But you just kind of have to look at it and see. But here's a view of the rest of the lintel, so you can see the whole thing, kind of a close-up view of it. And it's just really not, it's got a couple little rust spots on there, but really it just needs to probably be cleaned up. If you're seeing cracks like this on your brick veneer, over windows and openings, it's always going to be where you're going to usually, or I shouldn't say always, but it's usually going to be where you're going to see the first sign of cracking. It's usually caused by those lintels, sometimes caused by the settlement and thermal expansion, but that's because that's where the most stress is happening, is right over those openings. So, and they don't have the support that the rest of the structure does, just because of the nature of the opening there. So just something for you to be cognizant of, so you guys can be aware of it, that if you see those, don't start panicking. They're not that big a deal. It's very cheap to get them repointed, and to get them fixed, and it's not a structural issue. Just something for you guys to be aware of, so appreciate you watching. Remember, Timberline Inspections, inspected once, inspected right.